So one of the projects tonight is to get cardboard laid down. We want to get this laid down, especially in this front area of this second garden, because this is where we have a lot of our vining stuff. We got cucumbers that go all the way down that way, besides our little bald spot here where the pig pen was. The funny thing was, the pig pen I think came over somewhere over in here, but it seemed like that area, no matter where it was, ended up having a bald spot. We got like spaghetti squash, butternut squash, we got pumpkins in here. What else do we got in there? Watermelon, zucchini. So then we got all that corn back there, and you can see I planted the corn in different plantings. One week I put 4 rows in, the next weekend I put another 4 rows in. I think a couple weeks after that, after we got back from Florida actually, I planted the last 4 rows over there. We wanted to stagger it out. That's one of the big things when you start growing a lot of this stuff. Sometimes when it comes time to harvest, it's a little hard to keep up on. So a big part of the reason we're trying to get cardboard down is we've noticed a pretty big difference on just weed control. I mentioned in the past videos that we're really trying to move more towards like a quote-unquote back to Eden type garden. Generally that's done with wood chips. However, wood chips are something that's so hard for us to come by, and it's pretty expensive to get into a decent sized chipper. We do handle obviously a lot of firewood, but I just don't have the funds laying around to buy a nice high quality chipper at this point. So you can see we end up laying down a whole bunch of just old moldy hay here, and one of the big risks with hay is, you know, the potential of carrying seeds and some of that. So we asked the farmer for his oldest, moldiest bales, and that's what we ended up getting, and so far it's worked pretty well. The few weeds that we have got in here either have been like, so for example, we got our onions here. They would grow right along the side of the plant. Most of the walkway stuff has been pretty good. The few things that have actually come up in other random places are either wild raspberries, which I plan to kind of hang on to and transport somewhere else, or thistle, which I'm not really super keen about carrying some of those. So you see our onions are looking a little sloppy here. They're kind of all knocked over at the moment. We got red, white, yellow. Yellow are great for long-term storage. We're just using up the last of our yellow onions. And I actually have some sweet onions in here, which I'm really excited. Those, you know, you make your blooming onions with. Got our green beans here. You can see they're starting to flower out. They'll be popping out beans here real quick. Got our garlic down there. We actually had planned another variety of garlic here, but it didn't take. So we're going to do another attempt at that again next year, see if we can make some corrections. We got lettuce stuff down there. We have some more that we planned, actually 2 different varieties. There's a chunk somewhere in there, and then another chunk here. We try to space this stuff out so not all our lettuce is just a one time and done sort of thing. We have continued to have lettuce all throughout the summer. Broccoli here, sugar snap peas. You can see some of them are really big. We actually had to come back in here and replant, and it looks like they're starting to actually come through. I don't know what happened, but we just had a poor takeoff. So the whole reason I actually brought you guys down here is you can see the hay all behind here. You can actually see right down there at the bottom a little bit of cardboard. This area has not been touched in a month. Not a single weed pulled, nothing. It has just worked phenomenal. It just knocked all those down. It's worked really well. See our dill here? We usually plant in kind of a wide path row. So thick that a lot of times the weeds don't stand a chance. It's just, as long as the area is pretty well weeded before the dill seems to take over, and has worked out really well for us. Couple of varieties of tomatoes in here. We got some Romas, and we also have some Amish paste. We really like the Amish paste a lot, and I've seen a lot of other channels talk very highly about it as well. These are all ones that we started from seedlings. The one other plant that we started from seeds inside the house early this year was actually peppers, and peppers are a great companion plant to go with tomatoes. So here you're seeing all our peppers, and those are doing okay right now. You look down at this end of the garden, it looks pretty pathetic, but there actually is stuff down here. They're just spaced out, more vines. We actually have our sweet potatoes in here. If you look closely, you can see there, all the way down. Then there's another row here, another, you know, going down, another row here. And we ended up getting these potato slips from Johnny's. I've been very, very disappointed on how these have performed. They showed up while we were in Florida this year, sat for a week till we got back, and they just looked horrible. So they're hanging in there, but these have been in the ground for a month. They've kind of come back to life a little bit, but still looking pretty rough. I'm hoping they look a whole lot better come this fall time. So you want to start with this first row here?
Yeah.
And we'll just start working our way back?
Yeah.
Okay. gonna take out the hose, wet this down so it sticks down real nice, and then we'll lay some hay down across this. So I think this is looking pretty good. It looks a little pathetic right now, but these things will definitely start growing out and sprawling out. We wanted to make sure we got something in place that would help with some weed management, because it gets a lot more difficult, especially as these things start sprawling out. You know, I've been really wanting to move much more towards some of this ground cover type stuff. I really honestly think it's a lot better for the soil. I noticed it a lot more when it comes time to start weeding things and we're moving the dirt around on under some of this stuff. You just find a lot more worms. Just the soil seems to have a lot more moisture. I like it a lot for that type of stuff. However, when you get into things like corn here, I mean, that's a pretty heavy usage crop, and you really have to rotate that stuff. And trying to plant that into something like straw, it gets a little bit more difficult. That stuff all intertwines together. However, this stuff also breaks down a whole lot quicker than wood chips. Wood chips will definitely split a lot easier and they'll last a lot longer. And we did put a bunch of hay down last year as an experiment down by the sweet potatoes, and it was almost gone the following spring. It actually ended up getting tilled in. I know a lot of times weeding can get sort of a bad rap. Everyone whines and complains about it. To be honest, I don't mind it that much. I kind of think of it like getting on a riding lawnmower and cutting the grass. You just kind of throw some headphones on or an audiobook and just space out and kind of get time to yourself and getting out and enjoying Mother Nature and working towards putting some good, nice, healthy food on the table that you know where it's come from. These guys are getting a little too big for their box here. They're gonna be jumping out. We've already had 1 or 2 escapees. Just finished the chickshaw here and we're already gonna put it to work. You can see I ended up cutting up some strips of cardboard to lay in between these. I'm just a little worried, but their feet are relatively small right now and I just don't want to run into any foot issues. So we're gonna lay cardboard down, then we're gonna actually end up laying some pine shavings on this, at least for the next couple weeks till they get a little bit bigger. But man, they're growing fast. So you're in your PJs, where are you headed?
We're going to Ethel's house to get some baking stuff for the cupcakes we're making.